We were in the midst of a heat wave. Temperatures were in the high 20s and the days were unbearable. I wanted to go fishing. I felt the bug returning for a while, but the daytime simply wasn't an option. I planned to visit Lakeside in the evening, making the most of the last couple of hours of daylight when things would hopefully start to cool down. My thinking was that if the fish were lethargic throughout the day, perhaps they'd be ready for a feed later on. As I was working from home, I spent part of the afternoon getting my tackle ready. Not a huge amount, just enough to make for a comfortable bike ride. This was very much an ease myself back in session. The last thing I needed was to start packing the kitchen sink. It was still hot when I set off, but I could already feel the breeze had a little more freshness to it. As I approached the area of the lake I had in mind, I slowed down and took a good look around, hoping to spot a fish or two and see whether there were any other anglers already settled in. The lake had been fishing well for a few weeks, with a decent number of fish showing themselves. Given how close Lakeside is to where I live, I felt I had to get in on the action. As far as I'm aware, there are no monsters in Lakeside, maybe the odd 20-pounder, and the stock seems to be made up predominantly of commons, but they're lovely fish nonetheless. After such a long time away, I could only hope that the lake would be kind to me. I arrived at the lake on my trusty steed sometime after 7 p.m. and settled into peg 47. As I approached the water's edge, I spotted a tail pattern close to the board. That alone was enough to convince me that this was where I wanted to fish. The first thing I did was trickle a small handful of dog biscuits along the edge of the reeds, something to keep an eye on throughout the session. Next came a handful of pellets, a rod length or so out from the board. The sun was intense. We're a funny old bunch, always complaining about the weather, whether it's summer or winter. Personally, I prefer the colder months. At least then I can choose to wrap up warm or stay indoors. With the swim resting after baiting up, I sat down and assembled the rod. I opted for a light setup, a 2-pound test curve barbel rod, paired with a small fixed ball reel, loaded with 10-pound line. On the business end was an inline lead arrangement with a wafter hook bait. Once everything was ready, I gently placed the rig onto the spot, loosened the clutch, and settled back to enjoy the evening whilst awaiting proceedings. With the rod doing its thing, I spent my time watching the lake, the wildlife, and the reeds for telltale twitches, as well as keeping an eye out for bubblers. Plenty of bird life was on show, as it always is at Lakeside. That's one of the reasons I enjoy walking the banks there. Sometimes it's nice just to observe. After watching the reeds knock, seeing bubbles rise, and spotting the odd tail pattern, the spool suddenly began to tick, and the rod tip slowly pulled over. I lifted into the fish and instantly felt the carp charge off into open water. It felt wonderful to be connected to a carp again after such a long time away. A powerful fish for its size, it tore around the swim, repeatedly trying to gain sanctuary amongst the reeds. Before long though, I had everything under control and the fish was safely in the net. A glorious common lay before me, posing in the evening sun. I'd guess it weighed somewhere around 4 or 5 pounds. After a quick look and a moment of appreciation, it was returned to the lake to rejoin its friends. With the swim disturbed, I was in no rush to get the rod back out, but felt confident that there was another fish to come before home time. I topped the swim up again with a handful of pellets and, as before, gently lowered the rig back into position. The next bite took a little longer than the first, but eventually, just as the light began to fade, I received my second take. The fish were smaller than the first one, but no less beautiful or welcome. That signalled the end of the session for me, a short one, but a cool summer's evening spent in the best possible way. 2 carp, plenty of wildlife, and a couple of hours by the water. Sometimes that's all you need.